Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Friday Live where we are going to talk about what's going on in the real estate market because it's a little, you got to stay on top of it right now. That's for sure because things are moving quickly, changing all the time. So we're gonna talk about it. As you see, kind of the title, home sales are plunging. The number of homes that are selling right now are lower than we've seen in 15 years. So what I want to know first off is I want to know where you're watching from. And as we're talking, Christy, you're already telling me you're from Chandler. Hi there. As we're talking, if you've got questions, post those down there so that we can have these conversations and actually talk about things you want to talk about because that's what we're here for. But joining me today is a friend of mine all the way on the other side of the United States. Super excited to have you, Paul. Palm Beach Paul.
Hey, Sean, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Oh, enjoying paradise. Another sunny state, just like Arizona.
I know. We just don't have the beaches. We just have the sun.
You don't have the beachfront property, right?
Right.
Isn't there a song about that? If you
I don't know.
That, I'll tell you some waterfront property in Arizona.
There could
George
be.
Strait reference from Texas.
Right. There could be. Yeah.
So how you doing?
I'm good. So what are you seeing down there in Florida right now with the number of homes selling?
Crickets.
Yeah.
It's slow right now. There's always a certain segment of people, the uber wealthy, the big homes, they're still selling. There's a ton of luxury condos going up in West Palm Beach, where the area where I live near, which is Palm Beach County, which is right across from like the island of Palm Beach. A lot of high rises going up where they're starting in at least $1.5 million around there ballpark, going up as high as $73 million for a penthouse.
$73 million for a penthouse there?
$73 million for a
How
penthouse.
big is that?
It's big. It's I don't know square footage, but it's a new building going up, and the price was like $73.5 actually. So absolutely insane. But it's the average sales in that place. The guy was telling me that their average sales are between 13 and 26 million.
Wow.
That's their average sales.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, the regular back down from the stratosphere, the regular folks, quiet. 11 months of inventory for condos. I think we're pushing 6 months for single family homes. It's super, super quiet right now.
Are you guys seeing the same struggles with insurance for single family homes as that you are with condos?
Insurance overall in Florida is a struggle.
Okay.
The whole thing is a struggle. The condos are being affected more so because they have the assessments, and the assessments are all because of the new condo laws that went into place in 2022, where they had to have what's called a milestone inspection if the building's 30 years or older. And they also have to get what's called a SEERS, a structural integrity reserve study, that looks at how they're going to use the money to make repairs to the building. So when those started happening a couple of years ago, it started hit a lot of condo buildings, like blindsided them. They already had high fees, like HOA fees, or they call them COA fees because it's a condo owner association. They had high fees to begin with because the insurance premiums went up 300% for some of those people. So you were going from a $300 to $600 to $900 monthly HOA for these people who are on fixed income, many of them, and just everyone in between. And then the assessments started when they knew that these were coming, and the assessments would be like, hey, you need all new rebar and concrete work done to the tune of $10 million, and they're going to, or 50 million, and they're going to pass that along each of the individual owners. So you started to hear stories about people getting assessments of $10,000, $30,000. The worst case scenario, I did a report about it. A guy got a $224,000 assessment on his condo, even though his condo is probably worth $2 million or $1 million something. But he was like, where am I pulling that money out? I'm 78 years old. So, so that is the big part of what's happening with our market. But then in general, the insurance, because we've had, back-to-back hurricanes, some storms and whatnot, it's caused a lot of issues with the insurance premium. So the housing market right now is pretty stagnant. Prices are still high, in my opinion. I think they still need to come down a lot for the average person. It's pretty, in certain places, very slow right now.
Yeah. I put this up last week, and this is specific to Arizona. So I just wanted to throw this up again this week. So this is our Cromford Market Index, and it's something we're really fortunate that we've got somebody that analyzes our market every single day. And so these are the top 17 cities in our market, and it shows where they are as far as buyer market, seller market, balanced market. And last week we had a lot of red arrows. And this is interesting because this week down here in all our outlying cities, they've gone green this week. So they've kind of come up just a smidgen, but we're still down here in a buyer's market. And
Wow.
yeah, some of these have dropped. I mean, Gilbert dropped 11 points, which is pretty significant because Gilbert was up there. Chandler had dropped 11 points too. Chandler has been the number one city now for probably 4 years because that's where Intel is. And so many people were coming because of Intel. So this is something that I think is always a good thing to share because anything over 110, we're in a seller's market. You can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only 5 cities in a seller's market. Between 110 and 90, we're in a balanced market. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then everything else is in a buyer's market.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was trying to, you had me curious, so I tried to pull it up to see for 2025. Now it's from the Reventure app, you know who's that, right? The guy. But
yeah.
I was just trying to pull up
data.
I just wanted to pull up some numbers to just for purpose. So it indicates that Cape Coral, Northport, which these are all with Tampa, Jacksonville, which is on the far east side.
Yeah.
Palm Bay, Deltona, Lakeland, and Port St. Lucie. Port St. Lucie is the closest to me. That's about an hour north of me.
Okay.
Are among the Florida cities experiencing the biggest price drops. Specifically, Cape Coral is noted for having the most price cuts with a 39.9% drop.
Wow. 39.9% drop?
Basically 40% price drop. Yeah.
Wow.
Port St. Lucie had a 33.4% price cut. So, I mean, they're pushing 50%. I mean, I joked about this when I saw some of the comments on my YouTube channel, but the 50% price cuts are almost there. I mean, we're not far away from it,
we're not seeing that. We are seeing what I said last week. I think we have 39% of our listings that are in MLS have seen a price reduction.
Yeah.
You know, so, and that's the thing, you know, we're seeing lots of price reductions, lots.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Lots. And then we're seeing some homes that they're not closing. They're coming back on the market, and it's, you know, why did they not close? And it's like, well, it needed a new roof and the seller wasn't willing to do it because they had to drop their price so much already. And, you know, things like that. And it's like, well, you're not going to sell it like that. Most buyers are not going to buy it at a high price and have to put on a brand new roof.
Well, and what I'm seeing also is, and I'm seeing this on my own listings, as I was telling you before we went on air, I have a condo, and they came in on this condo, you know, thousands under, about 30,000 under. And it's a condo under 200,000. So right, so 30,000 is a pretty big drop.
Yeah,
and they came in like 30,000 under asking price, which, you know, so buyers are, I think people are starting to they're starting to see it. They're getting wind that they can be aggressive and go in and what we would consider lowballing. And it may work. I mean, because as you said, the people are getting no offer, they get a low offer, then hopefully you turn it into something and meet somewhere in the middle and have everybody happy campers if you can. But on top of that, there's a lot of people offering concessions. I just had one of my other properties say, hey, let's throw in on top of that where we're at, let's throw in a credit and we'll offer this much for closing cost or whatever. So all the basically things that you see when it becomes more of a buyer's market and they want to move these homes, and you know, they're just sitting, and so they can either sit, lower the price, or create something that will entice them to come in.
Right. Retired journalist. Hello from Yuma. How you doing down there? It's pretty warm. All right, I want to look at this.
Chandler.
What's that?
I used to visit Chandler in
in
early days. Yeah, I used to work
south.
for a company called Intertel Technologies. So they had phones and had a big place there in Chandler, Arizona.
Yeah. So Lawrence Russo says California, but purchasing a home in Chandler, Arizona, 10,000 concession from seller after inspections. And I'll tell you, for us here in the Valley, 10,000 concessions, that's about the average right now. For any homes that are getting concessions, $10,000 is about the average that people are getting, which is pretty significant.
Yeah, it is.
It's pretty significant.
That's a huge amount of money. I mean, no matter how you look at that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to jump into this, this article here. This is from Lance Lambert, who used to be, he's a Resi Club now, used to be with Fortune. So Zillow turns bearish. Just look at its updated 2025 forecast, which is this is crazy because Zillow kept saying that prices were going to go up, go up, go up. So Zillow turns bearish. Let's be clear. Zillow economists still aren't calling for a national home price crash, but they did just turn bearish, at least on 2025. On Thursday, Zillow economists published their updated forecast model projecting that U.S. home prices, as measured by the Zillow Home Value Index, will fall 1.7% between March 2025 and March 2026. Back in March, Zillow downgraded its 12-month outlook for U.S. home prices to positive 0.8%. In February, Zillow downgraded its 12-month outlook to 1.1%. And at the start of the year, in January, Zillow's 12-month national home price forecast was 2.9%. Why does Zillow keep downgrading the national home price outlook? The rise in active listings is fueling softer price growth. As greater supply provides more options and more bargaining power for buyers, potential buyers are opting to remain renters for longer as affordability challenges suppress demand for home purchases. Pretty much, Zillow thinks strained housing affordability caused by U.S. home prices rising over 40% during the pandemic housing boom and mortgage rates spiking from 3% to 6% in 2022 is weighing on national home price growth.
Yep.
According to Zillow's home price model, the listing site also believes that weakening and softening housing markets around the Gulf will weigh on national aggregated home prices this year. So this is really interesting because this is you down here. Where's so you're right around 0. But I mean, here's Phoenix. I mean, we're negative 1.5. And the thing though, I mean, I don't know how you are, but like I was showing before with the 17 different cities, every city for us reacts differently.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Boca's a very wealthy city, and there's still a lot of people who live in Boca that have money. So maybe home sales in Boca. Country clubs are a big thing in Boca in this part of Florida. So they'll have the wealthy people coming from up east, New York, Connecticut, those people, Long Island. They will still come down here. They'll pay cash. They'll still see the house that they want and they'll buy it. I think if they're smart and they got a good agent, they'll get something off that price. They're not paying the ridiculous amounts that they used to. It just depends on the property. But I've seen, I will tell you, it's got to be affecting the luxury market as well, because each week I do a lot where I have a book. It's not a little magazine that I send out. It's not a magazine. It's just like, hey, your house expired. Here's what we offer. Tell them a little bit, sorry that expired, right? Kind of a little different. And we mail it to people because calling people is just annoying. And they already had the 40 million realtors that ignored the do not call list. Right. So they're already mad, but you send them something to get in the mail. Hopefully they call you. And the number of listings, when I go and I run that new search of those expired, the number of ones that are starting at anywhere as high as 40 million down, it's amazing how many luxuries did not sell.
Yeah. I mean, for us, when's your selling season right now?
Well, locals buy now. Now we get out of the snowbird season. So now it becomes the locals, the mom and dads, people that are looking to move to a new school district, people like us where kids are going off to college. Maybe we're thinking, okay, maybe it's time to move into a condo or downsize. Don't need a big 2-story house. So this is more like the really local market. We just came out of our snowbird season and it was dead. Usually snowbird seasons when they're buying all the winter vacation homes and they're buying condos and villas left and right. I got 1, 2, 3 properties in 55 and older communities, and none of them moved. They're all just sitting. And one, we just put a brand new roof on it, still sitting lower. Just actually did a price drop just this week, another price drop on it. The condos are still sitting. One condo I just put on a week ago, and I'm happy I've had 2 showings. I consider that a success. And it's funny, right? 2 showings you consider a success, because I know there's people with condos that they haven't had a person walk through the door in like 5 months. Because I've talked to the agents and they can't get anyone to walk through the door. And that is just crazy. I know it. It happens though. It happens. So, but yes, the markets can vary. Jupiter is a very influential part of my area. So there's people up there still buying and doing stuff. Depends. And the good school, the ones with the really desirable school districts, they'll still get people. Parents want to be at the right school. They're going to move and they'll do it and stuff. So, So this is an interesting thing too. So the 10 housing markets with the most price cuts. Oh yeah. Let's see if I made that list. I gave you Florida. Let's see. I didn't know you were going to do that. Arizona. Total share of listings with price cuts is 37%. I swear, I think last week it was 39. Wow. Yeah. So that, I mean, similar to my numbers.
Yeah, 29 days until pending. Tampa, Florida,
There you go.
34%
Yeah.
of their listings have had price cuts. Jacksonville, Florida.
Look at this, Florida making the
I know.
list.
Right, I
Raleigh,
know.
wow.
Raleigh, North Carolina, Denver, Colorado. They're tied with Nashville, Tennessee. That was surprising to me. Orlando, Florida,
Wow.
Dallas, Texas, San Antonio, Texas, Salt Lake City. That's a surprise to me too.
Yeah, I can see if you look at that list. So San Antonio, all those places like Austin, that belt, the I-35 belt, I grew up there. Those homes all shot way up, way above price. They just like Florida.
Yeah.
California people moved there. A lot of Californians moved post-COVID and during COVID. Those homes shot up in value way above. And so I can see their prices dropping. It makes sense because Florida experienced that a lot too. Tennessee also got a ton of people. We have friends that moved to Tennessee.
Huge.
A lot of people moved to Tennessee. I think there was a huge influx of people moving there. And then you can kind of see, yeah. You got a lot of people moving there. People want to go where it's warm.
Yeah.
And Sunbelt states and stuff like that. So makes sense. I'm not too sure why Raleigh. I know it's a big tech for Dell and tech hub. I'm not too sure. Plus being a university town. Not sure where but they did have a lot of people moving there. A lot of people from Florida leave Florida and go back to call them halfbacks. They're from New York. They come to Florida, but they don't go back to New York. They go and they move to North Carolina, and they call them halfbacks. They make it.
They only went halfway back.
Halfway back, yeah. So they call them halfbacks.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of people that I knew. I mean, I would talk to people, and they would tell me like, we're looking at. I had somebody ask me this the other day. They're looking at moving here from Washington State. We had a lot of people that moved Washington State, Oregon here. And they'd say, where else are people looking to move when they're looking here? Where else are they looking? We have a lot of people that look at Palm Springs. And I always tell them, I'm like, the big thing for me with Palm Springs is there's not as much to do. I don't think. There are good restaurants and things, but also, I mean, they do have an airport, but you're flying from that airport to another big airport before you can fly anywhere else. Where here, we have an international airport that it's so easy to fly in and out of. So it just makes travel that much easier. Because even when people come here for second homes, they're still traveling when they're here.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah.
So they love coming here because of our weather, but then they still want to travel while they're here.
Oh, yeah. And ours is so close to the Bahamas. So, right. So we get the people who want to come here. They may go to Disney. They may fly to Orlando. And then Orlando is only a 2-hour drive down this way. But then West Palm Beach has a major hub. And another hour south is Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood International Airport. So we got all the major hubs. And then Miami. So it's all very close. So, and all of those open to Latin America and all that travel and the Caribbean. And then, of course, Europe, right? So we're on the far east coast. So,
the only place I've been in Florida is the Miami International Airport.
Oh, yeah.
It was quite scary because I was flying international. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
It was big.
Weird airport.
Holy.
Yeah, it's a big airport and get confused in there. We walked the whole thing by accident because we parked and should have gone one way from the garage and wanted to take a story we wanted to, but no, we went this way. And that meant we went in, it goes in a big U. So we got to walk through the whole airport. That was fun.
Oh boy.
We were picking at my son who's coming back from Germany, but yeah, it's a busy airport for sure.
Yeah. I want to pull up this article too. Give me just a second. So, buyers or sellers housing market, Zillow's analysts for 250 markets. Here's where home sellers and home buyers have the most power right now, according to Zillow's most recent analysis.
Oh, this would be good.
I know it. Zillow economists use an economic model known as the Zillow Market Heat Index to gauge the competitiveness of housing markets across the country. This model looks at key indicators, including home price changes, inventory levels, and days on market to generate scores showing whether a housing market favors sellers or buyers. Higher scores point to hotter, seller-friendly metro housing markets. Lower scores usually signal cooler markets where the buyers hold more negotiating power. According to Zillow, a score of 70 or above means it's a strong seller's market, and a score of 55 to 69 is a seller's market. A score from 44 to 55 indicates a neutral market. Meanwhile, a score from 28 to 44 is a buyer's market, and 27 below is a strong buyer's market.
I know where that 70 is going to be before you can show me.
Yeah. So here, this is interesting. This is overall, this is national. So we're still sitting we're right by a neutral market, just barely in a seller's market. So here's that heat map. And here's Phoenix. In 2025, we're at 52. We're
I'm that big bubble at the
down
bottom.
here.
All right. Yeah, that's pretty much my sort of area, maybe.
So
Yeah,
you're 36.
well, that's Fort Lauderdale. I mean, that's Miami Metro, but we're kind of included. And there's Port St. Lucie's just above.
Yeah.
So I'm in
Yeah.
between those two bubbles.
Got it.
Yeah.
So
And
it's interesting.
the red is what?
The red is higher. So they're more in a seller's market. And this is what is crazy to me.
Go where Jackie is.
I know that back east, right? Back here, they're still like, they do not have inventory. They're still getting multiple offers.
Yeah, it's like a different world.
Totally different world. But what's surprising to me is California is still kind of like that too. But I think that I really believe that the fires have something to do with that.
Could be.
Because I don't think it was that way before the fires.
And that's not San Diego you're pointing at. No. That's Central.
That's San Francisco.
That's San Francisco. Wow.
Oops.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there's San Francisco right there. And then we got San Jose. I've got a client moving here from San Jose.
I wonder if that just tech jobs and people still willing to go there for the high tech jobs, and the demand is still high. Good for them. I
know, it's crazy. Yeah. So among the 250 largest metro area housing markets, these 10 are the hottest markets where sellers have the most power. Rochester, New York, Buffalo, New York, Syracuse, New York, Hartford, Connecticut, Charleston, West Virginia, Albany, New York, Manchester, New Hampshire, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Oh man, I'm going to butcher that. A place in New York.
Oh, Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie, thank you.
Yeah.
And Boston, Massachusetts. Yeah. So these are the 10 coldest markets. Jackson, Tennessee, Gulfport, Mississippi, Brownville, Texas.
Look at 7. That's where you're
I know. I saw this and I was like, oof.
Wow.
Macon, Georgia, Daphne, Alabama, Beaumont, Texas, Naples, Florida, Cape Coral, Florida, Panama City, Florida, and Punta Gorda, Florida.
So all those are on the west. Everything over there is on the west coast of Florida, which, again, we're hit by storms, right? Recently hit by hurricanes, flooding. And so almost all of those are on the west coast. Panama's up in the very panhandle near Alabama.
Mm-hmm. I know. It's crazy to see how quickly our housing market has shifted. And that's one of the things that I've been talking to people about, and just having that conversation with buyers and sellers, because I get I don't know if you do too. I get buyers that come here looking and they're like, are we going to have to be up against multiple offers? And are we going to have to bid over? And if they're coming from one of those hot states, and I'm like, no, our market has shifted.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to negotiate. Now, if the house is in the right location and it's completely remodeled, everything's done, and it's priced pretty well. I mean, it can even be priced a little high. It still is going to sell fast. Not multiple offers, possibly over list price, but it could have a couple offers and sell for list price. But for the most part, our houses they're sitting a little bit longer.
There's always going to be a house like that, because I've had realtors here say, oh, I got multiple offers. And there's always going to be a house that someone really did a brilliant job on decorating it and remodeling it. It's in a school district or near a location that's super hot with restaurants, accessibility, and it's just a very desirable neighborhood. And sometimes those homes will do well no matter what the market is. And they'll still get it. But yes, on the whole, and looking at everything else, days on market longer, price drops. We see so many little arrows now in our multiple listing service: price drop, price reduction, whatever. And then you drive down the street on a Saturday. I've never seen so many open house signs in my life.
Oh, really?
There's so many open house signs.
What's interesting to me too is I'm getting a lot more text messages and phone calls from agents after I do a showing. Hey, I just really wanted to follow up. Like, what was feedback? I'd really like to get some feedback. And it's interesting because there's this thing going around with real estate agents, like not giving feedback. Have you heard that?
Well, I think that's always been a thing with the bad agents. I don't know why. I don't know. I think I always provided feedback. I know there was something where one agent got sued or some story about it because he provided feedback, and then some stupid story. But the most of the time I provide feedback in just general. I just say they're not interested, and then maybe they ask why. I said, it just wasn't for them, or they didn't like this. But I don't insult the house. I don't put a bad rating, any of that. But we did. I've been working some buyers that just went under contract, and I had an agent reach out to me from looking at her property 3 weeks ago. Yeah. She goes, hey, we just did a price drop, and I'm like, and of course I don't I clear out my text messages unless I have to keep them. So
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know who this is. What property? Oh, hey, it's you. Oh, that was a nice house. Yeah. And it was a nice house.
Yeah.
And she just did a price drop. And then other ones are like, hey, the house fell out of contract. So I'm getting a ton of those calls.
A lot.
A lot of calls from title companies here in Florida. Hey, we'll do your closing and all that for like, really cheap, $99 whatever. And
Oh, really?
Yeah, or very cheap. Yeah, or $200 whatever, like processing. Yeah, normally it's like 5, 7.
Wow.
You're getting a lot of title companies just digging for business.
That's crazy. Yeah,
So,
I mean, I'm seeing more of like kind of again, the broker opens, which I don't know about down there, but they don't work here.
They don't work. I mean, well, here's an interesting one. This is becoming a big trend down here. If you have a nice luxury home, they're doing these media days. So I went to an $8 million house and I got to make some content, and it was my friend invited me to it. And then I got to meet the agent. She's really nice. We were on a panel together where they had me talking about YouTube, and he was talking about luxury anyway. So all these agents were all getting to do little things, and we put it on our social media. It's smart. It's free marketing.
I think it's really smart. I've seen that here too, not by a lot, but I've seen a few people do that. And I think it's really smart.
It's got to be the right house. It's not going to work on every house. So sellers, if you're watching this or you see this, your house has to be spectacular in order for that. If it's just average, people aren't going to watch the TikTok video or the Instagram video. But I know, because I've tried it on some homes that aren't spectacular, and I got like crickets. So, and then I did an $8 million one, and I had like a bunch of views. So people want to see the luxury. They do. So
they do.
It's like a fast car and a beautiful boat. So we've seen a lot of that.
I always tell sellers, I'm like, so is it bad to do, an open house or anything like that? I'm like, no, it's not. I think a regular open house can still benefit you.
Yeah.
But doing the broker tours like that, I always tell them, like, the reality is that the most of the agents that go to those broker tours, have the time to go to those broker tours. I haven't been to one in years. I don't have time.
I don't have free food.
Exactly. And they're looking for free
booze and food, which I never, I don't know. I've always been a little weird about booze at anything. It's like, that seems like a liability, but whatever.
Yeah.
No, the open house will get some neighbors in, and sometimes they work. You may get the buyer if you're lucky. Normally you're going to get a lot of neighbors that are like, oh, so that's what they did with the house. So that's what happened in my last one. So, because there's so much accessibility online, they can see all the pictures and the videos. Agreed. That what used to be an open house before I was in the market, 15 years ago, you had to go to the open house because you wanted to see it. It wasn't, the internet wasn't pushing it as much. So. Right.
All right, let's take a look at this one. I thought this was interesting. This was because the jobs report came out today. And the U.S. economy added a stronger than expected 177,000 jobs in April. Did you see this?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So America's long resilient job market continues to defy expectations, even in the wake of swirling uncertainty. The U.S. economy added a surprisingly strong 177,000 jobs in April, a slight slowdown from March's downwardly revised 185,000 gains, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics data released on Friday. April's gain was stronger than the average pace of monthly job growth in the prior 3 months. Meanwhile, the unemployment rate was unchanged at 4.2%, a historically low level. Economists polled by data firm FactSet were expecting the economy to have added just 135,000 jobs last month, and that the unemployment rate held at 4.2. U.S. stocks moved higher Friday morning, and investors digested the report. The Dow rose 490 points, or 1.2%. The broader S&P 500 rose 1.15%, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ composite gained 1%. So, again, this is something that I kind of look at just because I think it's important to see where the jobs market is. I can't say that I am not an economist.
I got a theory about that. So the market, more jobs were created. It's April. Well, two things happen around this time. Kids get out of school and go to summer. They start looking for jobs. Kids graduate college, start getting jobs.
Yeah.
And a third is that people right now are struggling, and a lot of people are getting part-time jobs and second income, still get to make a little extra money. So I don't know if that plays into those numbers, but I know a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people getting second jobs. And I know my son's looking for a job, right? He's going to college, in high school. And so we see a lot of that. I don't know if again, I don't know if those are numbers that they look at, or are they just looking at regular jobs, full-time employment, but
that's interesting. I mean, you could very well have a point,
because it's summer, right? So what are they gonna do? Sit? No, most people like kids go get a job.
Right.
So that adds to the number of people that were employed.
Right. And I still think that with the jobs numbers and the people that have been kind of let go or given from
severance.
Yeah, severance from the government, like that hasn't hit yet.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see that.
Yeah.
But maybe some of those people are already absorbed into the job, into those numbers. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. They went out and got new jobs and stuff. So, I mean, keeping the unemployment rates down, I guess that's a good sign. So if people are working.
Right. I mean, I checked out the interest rates today, though. They did not come down.
What is it today?
They're still like 6.9 today.
Yeah.
6.9 today.
Where's that 3.9?
I know. And everybody keeps saying that, and I mean, I think that's really where, and we've talked about it over and over and over again, that's really what's keeping us stuck right now. Yes, our inventory is going up, but the inventory that's coming on the market isn't sometimes what everybody wants.
Yeah.
That's what we have here. I was just at a house this morning with the buyer who had his flooring people and his cabinet people and all these people that were there. And we were talking about all the flooring and the amount of homes that I go into right now, showing them to buyers. And there's 5 different types of flooring in the house. And it's because they've owned it for 15 years. And it's like, ooh, I'm going to redo this part of my house. I'm going to put this flooring down. And then 5 years pass and like, this is really in, I'm going to redo this part. I'm going to put this flooring down. None of it matches and it doesn't go together.
I know.
And it's so hard because what buyers or what sellers don't realize is that when they do that to their house, it makes their house look smaller because they don't have one consistent flooring throughout. And 2, the buyers look at it and they go, this is going to cost a lot of money to fix.
Yeah.
And is the house livable? Of course it's livable.
But it's not that nice looking and you have to work it. So the good homes are still being lived in right now. The good homes are the ones that during, people that bought and got those just ridiculously low interest rates, and they have no reason to sell. They're sitting on equity. Their homes are worth a lot of money from when they bought it and where it's sitting at now. They got a low payment,
right?
Lower than rent for a lot of places. And for them to sell that and go buy something with a 7% interest rate is absolutely ludicrous. They're not going to do it.
Right.
And on top of that, a lot of the people who took out the HELOCs and all that and redid their homes at a very low interest rate, they have these beautiful homes with the granite counters and the most modern floors and screened in patio and lanai and all that. They're sitting on those homes. They're not in the market right now.
Right.
So what you're left with, and I agree with you, as I've been working with buyers, are the other homes that were lived in for 30 years and they did 7 different floor samplings and their kitchen still looks like it did in 1972. And yet they're trying to get a dollar for it. That it's like no, and the buyers going and they go down here in Florida. It's the roofs. Like you look at the home and the roof's original. It's almost like an immediate. Don't even bother putting an offer on it because unless that roof's going to give you 5 years of life, you're not going to get insurance on it, and then you're not going to be able to finance it. So
that's interesting. So we have the same kind of an issue. Not necessarily that if the roof is old, you're not going to get insurance, but if our roofs are old. It's a very big bone of contention. I tell sellers all the time, their air conditioning is old and their roof is old, replace their roof, leave the air conditioner. If the inspector comes through and the air conditioner is in working order, I've never seen a seller replace an air conditioner, but I have seen probably 50 to 75 sellers replace a roof.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you can't not do the roof. Buyers will walk.
Yeah, well, and in Florida, it's the difference between getting approved for the loan approved or not. Because if the roof does not have 5 years of life left in it here in Florida, you won't get an insurance policy from anybody. It's a kiss of death.
So can the seller put on a new roof and then negate that issue?
If they want to put the new roof on and it can be done in time, and I guess you could always make an addendum to say, hey, we're going to extend the closing date out and do something. Sure, yeah, anything can kind of be negotiated whether they're willing to do it or not. Because it's a real big expense, especially if you're doing the ones with the barrel tiles and what that can be $40,000-$50,000. But yeah, they could, or if they can sometimes fix the roof to where the inspector could come back and look at it and say, okay, we could get 5 years out of it. You did some minor repairs to it. That's sometimes an option and stuff. So, but a lot of the times, it will kill a deal, because if they can't get a binder on insurance, then they can't finance it. And not, and I mean, even though 24% of all sales were cash last year, that's the wealthy that have the cash. It's the majority of everyone else are still financing.
Well, I was just going to say that was last year. That's probably not this year.
Yeah. Last year.
Yeah.
The
people this year probably aren't all paying cash.
No. I mean, it's too early to tell what those numbers are, but so it's a huge issue. So when you see a house, it can be beautiful inside, but multiple homes have these really old roofs, and it's just like, what's the point?
I know.
Even if they give you a credit, it's not going to help you, because you still can't get. If they gave you a $10,000 credit, you can't get the insurance binder. The insurance won't let you bind it.
Right.
And that's the problem.
It used to be. Do you have insurance, or do you have roofing companies that would put the roof on and get paid at close?
I don't know. I mean, I've seen some things I've seen where they were the seller was able to fix it. There's one deal where they let them do it during the process, or they let them do it after the process, which I don't know, but they had so many days. But I don't know how they got that done, because I've been told most insurance companies will not allow that anymore. So they used to give you like a 30-day time frame. So if you had an outdated electrical panel, that's another big thing. There's a lot of electrical panels that don't pass the code here. They're older, and the insurance companies don't like them. They're prone to like short circuiting and fire. So they would give you a credit, right? Seller would give you a credit. You would get your insurance closed on the house, except you didn't have anything that covered for like fire, I guess, right? So that you had that time that you better pray nothing happens. You get yourself covered by getting it changed real quick by an electrician, show it to them, hey, we changed it, and then you're good and stuff. They used to do that. They don't do that anymore. Used to be that also with like certain kind of polybutylene piping, which is a bad type of PVC piping.
We have that.
Yeah. So they used to let you do it. So you used to have these grace periods. Because I remember, I did it. I worked with buyers, and we got like a $7,500 credit for replacing all the PVC. And we closed. And the week after we closed, he had the plumbers in there doing the plumbing. And we got it done. Matter of fact, we did the inspection. We knew that they had the pipes. When we did the inspection, they tested the plumbing, and the pipe broke over the master bedroom. And started thinking, okay, we know you got these kind of pipes. That's great. So, but anyway, it's kind of a real headache for a lot of people right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've said this before, the last 2 years, my insurance company shops our insurance for us when it's time, to renew. Yeah. And the last 2 years, they've changed us on companies to save us money.
Yeah.
Because of that. And our roof is newer. And, I even said to them, I'm like, I think I forgot to tell you that we put on a new roof like 5 years ago. And she's like, oh, that's going to help. So those are the things you forget to tell your insurance company.
Yeah. They're trying to get more competition down here. We'll see what happens. If there's more competition, it'd be better for all Florida, but a lot of the companies had bailed for a while. So it's very tough. It doesn't help when you get the storms.
No, I mean, are most of the people on the government Florida insurance?
Florida last resort Citizens.
Yeah.
Citizens has shrunk a little bit. They've offloaded some of their policy holders to other companies now. That were, I think it's like if it's 20% of their premium, like above, right in that area, it can be. If it's any more than that, they don't have to switch. But so they've been able to get off some of the people out of their pool. To other stuff, but they're still one of the largest policyholders in the state of Florida. So I haven't looked at all what was going on with the Florida legislature, which is about to end. The things I've been following the most was what they just ruled on for the condos to address the condo situation, which they just passed. And that's supposed to help the people with the assessments.
Have they put a limit on how much they can actually increase those assessments?
They didn't put a limit on it. That I believe what they passed was when these buildings get hit with an assessment, they were immediately hitting the people saying, hey, you need to come up with this money. What they've done is they're allowing the boards to now take the money and invest the money into, I guess it's weird to said, invest the money and take a longer time to collect the funds, not immediately ask each condo owner for a huge amount, giving them a longer amount of time to collect the money, to deal with it, and a little bit more time to fix the issue. Where right now people have been getting blindsided, and they get a letter saying, hey, you have an assessment of $50,000 and we need it within so many days, like, or whatever, this time frame to get it. Or,
that's hard.
There's going to be a lien on you. Yeah. So they did a little bit, but there's still a long way to go.
Yeah. I mean,
with
here, if
condos.
there's a special assessment on properties, oftentimes they give two different options. You know, it's like one, you can pay it in full, or two, you can make payments on it.
They do that here
And
too.
yeah, yeah. So
So
I mean, that
now they're
makes it a little bit more tolerable.
yeah, they're just giving them a little bit more time to collect the money. It's funny is we're like, what do you mean they can invest it? Like bet on black,
Right.
like go to Vegas and
Right.
hey everyone, here's our budget. We're gonna bet on black.
Right.
Oops.
And let everyone cross their fingers, because if we hit it big, then we don't have to take the money from everybody else.
Yeah. So oh craps.
Sorry, crapped
Yeah.
out.
So I've actually it's one of the things I was trying to make a video on. I got to do some reading on it and get all the details, but it just kind of came out the other day that they passed that. So yeah, they're trying. It's just been very difficult.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. The condo market is in really rough shape down here right now.
Yeah, I know it. I read about it every once in a while. I remember when you made your video about the condo crisis, and that went bananas.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a problem.
Yeah. It's I saw it coming in 2023. I saw it as a realtor. I saw the writing on the wall with wow, look at this. Why is there like, what is this assessment thing? And I saw the insurance. It was really a lot about the insurance.
Yeah.
Because after the storms, all the companies, when they went out for their new policies for the year, their insurance policies were going up 300% in some buildings. So the only way to pay for that when you're in a condo is they take it in, they increase your monthly HOA fee, right? So they got to cover this policy. Right. So they share it amongst all the people that own in the building. And man, it just blindsided people. I mean, they like said, you know, it's like having your car payment be $350 a month, and you've been paying $350 a month for years, and out of nowhere your car payment goes to $750. You're like, what?
Right. And you guys have so many people down in Florida that are on fixed incomes.
Oh, that's so many of these buildings. And the problem is these older buildings are the ones that got whacked because they are so old, and because they're maybe not up to date with some of the stuff. So the insurance is like, they know it's going to cost a lot to fix it. So their policy was like jacked way high to cover it because of the roof. So yeah. So, and the people living in them were people who bought them 30, 40 years ago, you know, and they're just like living on fixed income now. So, and unfortunately, the result is that we'll probably see a lot of those buildings sell out to developers. They'll get to a point where it's going to get to the point where some people, and it's already happening, they can't afford to pay it. Multiple people can't afford to pay it. No one's buying it. They have no other choice to take a developer deal, and they'll come in on pennies on the dollar, say, hey, look, we'll buy it out from you. We'll take this, and boom. And they got to get a majority of the people in the building to agree to do it. And they sell the building, they'll knock it down. And then you'll see a new luxury building go up where prices start, you know, at $1 million, $2 million for a luxury building right on that same waterfront spot.
Right.
So, and that's already happening to some point here in South Florida. There's a couple lawsuits going on in Miami for one building. So they're waiting to see what happens with that. Yeah,
I know. I mean, you guys don't have land like we don't have land.
Yeah, no, there's not a lot of land left.
People are like, oh, I want to move to Scottsdale. And I'd like a new build. I've had this conversation recently a couple times, and I'm like, okay, well, we have a few places that do have new builds. The problem is they're a little farther out. And if you want to be able to get to the grocery store within like 5 or 10 minutes, that's not where these are. And they're like, oh no, I don't want to be out that far.
Yeah.
Like, we just don't have the land like that anymore.
No, Palm Beach County, Broward County, there's no land. And if you get the locals absolutely hate seeing anything new being built. They're so protective of it, and they're sick of it. Like I said, I see a lot of comments, you know, like we make videos, and you see the locals, and their response is like, just, you know, I did a video. I know we were talking about this. I did a video about a lot of the Canadians who are kind of leaving Florida and not coming back. And of course, a lot of people are like, good. And they're like, yeah, more land. Our land needs it, and our environment needs it, and less people here trampling on our beaches and whatever, and just, you know, and stuff. So it's always interesting to see people's response to it. But yeah, there's no land down here in this part of South Florida at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because without the beach, we're very similar, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's high-end real estate with no extra land. And that's what keeps all the prices high. But when you start looking at some of the real estate with those high prices, you're like, oh my, everything's dated.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, there's a house around the corner from me. I showed it the other day. Great house. Obviously great neighborhood, because where I live my neighborhood. But it was like almost $1.4 million, and it is original. Everything was original. And I'm like, the agent asked me, she's like, what did you think? I'm like, it's really dated. She's like, what do you think about the price? I'm like, it's too high. It's way too high.
Yeah.
And so she reduced the price this morning.
I was in a neighborhood in West Palm Beach, and it's a nice new neighborhood. A lot of the homes are mid-century modern, right? One of my favorite style homes. And this one house was on a street, and it's like half a block from the Intracoastal, so really close to the water, very, very desirable now. And I remember I went back and looked at what that house. I looked at that house. I said, I'm just curious. So I looked at 2019, $250,000. I looked
How
at
much
what
is
they're
it today?
asking now, 1.95, and it was still the same house. Maybe so. What if they did a little bit of upgrading inside? It's 250 to 1.9 million. It did not look like a $2 million house, but that's what they're asking. Whether I'll have to go back and look it up now. Think about see if it's sold. It probably did because they were tearing them down and putting in McMansions all in that area now.
Well, now we have a few areas that I don't know that it's that drastic, but we have a few areas that were like older Scottsdale, like so kind of the same thing, kind of border on the mid-century modern house, not really, more little bungalow-ish.
Yeah.
Small, 1,500 square feet, more compartmentalized floor plans because they were built in like the 50s and the 60s. And people were going there, knock out walls, add on a little bit, totally customize it. And the houses went from like $300,000-$400,000 to like $1.2 million.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's all brand new.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a desirable place to be.
Yeah. There's some, it's just a really interesting time. It's not, I'm hoping, like everyone, just the prices start leveling out more. The condo market's already leveling out, but people just don't want to buy them because the insurance and the fact that some of the buildings aren't even insurable.
Right.
And there's just so much assessment scares everybody. Like they're scared.
I don't blame them.
The homes are, just more picky. Just got to find the right home and know that it's got to have a good roof and, maybe good AC, but mainly a good roof. You can work around everything else, but the roof is a huge factor because I've had people buy a home and then 2 years later, they're like getting told, hey, we're dropping you unless you get a new roof. It's like, what?
Oh my gosh.
And they just bought the house a year ago or 2 years ago.
Wow.
So then all of a sudden you're like, oh God, I got to come up with anywhere from, low side 18 for comp shingle to roof metal or bare tiles, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000.
I was going to say, are you guys more composition shingle there?
There's a lot of comp shingles, but like my whole neighborhood's like all barrel tile. Everyone's in here's got a barrel tile roof. So, or tile roof. I don't say barrel tile. I always say that, but it's the tile roofs. And a lot of neighborhoods with an HOA, you have to have the same roof. You can't have a different roof. Same color or variant color. They give you 3 choices of shade. Just like the house I'm trying to sell in the 55 and older neighborhood. They went under contract on the roof in August of 2024, and the roof wasn't done until after January of 2025. Yeah. It took them that long to get the tiles.
Why? Oh, to get the tile?
Yeah, I guess. I said it's the slowest company I've ever heard of in my life.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So we sat there waiting for that whole time for them to get the roof on.
Oh my gosh.
It's like ridiculous that it took that long.
That's crazy.
But so we'll see what's happening with it. It's really like, again, Florida's still desirable. There's still a lot of people planning to come here. They said by 2030, a quarter of our population will be 65 and older. So
really,
there's a whole bunch of, I wouldn't say boomers. It's going to be Gen Xers now that will be coming here to retire. So we'll see what happens with the market. And
it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like with us, we were before the market crashed and we saw a 50% decrease in our, price points. Our main jobs were construction, hospitality, and low-end call center jobs. After that, they changed everything. And so now we've got a bunch of tech. We've got a lot of healthcare. We've got a lot of financial. We've got a lot of different diversified jobs now so that we're bringing in a lot more high-paying jobs, which is great. So the people they can afford the houses that are here. Some might argue that that's not always the case, which I understand. But we have a lot of high-paying jobs.
I'm hoping that happens here. We've had a lot because of the West Palm Beach market's bringing in all the New York money. So there's been a lot of banking and finance coming here, Goldman Sachs.
Mm-hmm.
We've quite a few people have moved here. What's his name? I can't remember the big guy out of Canada, the billionaire. He's down here. A lot of financial people. West Palm Beach is now has nine billionaires down here, 59 billionaires in all of South Florida, but 9 billionaires just in West Palm Beach.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So hundreds of millionaires and even centimillionaires, like 69 centimillionaires, people that are over $100 million net worth of living. So there's some definitely money jobs and those people that are like, hey, we can live here and work anywhere because we're in this finance industry.
Right.
But also we have Vanderbilt they're opening up a campus down here. So they're going to be down here. So hopefully we'll see some of the more tech jobs, and maybe some more companies will start coming here because of people like Vanderbilt being here, and,
Mhm.
and the tech money that maybe those companies will look to South Florida. But I'm sure it weighs on their mind that we're considered a hurricane alley.
Yeah, I
So
know. I
that's always
know.
a hard thing for companies to decide if they want to open an office here and deal with that. So
Right.
that's just.
Right.
But I mean, San Francisco's tech capital, and they have earthquakes, right? So I mean,
Right. I know that's one of the reasons I left California. I was like, I don't want to deal with the earthquakes.
Yeah,
Don't
so
want to deal with it.
if they can have a tech valley there, I'm sure Florida could eventually.
Right.
No state income tax, a lot of benefits to that, and
Right.
and
Well, I know
stuff.
they're
So
starting to call us the Silicon Desert.
really, wow,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. So I want to say hi, Alex from Southern California. Thanks for joining us.
yeah. Talking about
And
California,
then
there you go.
Lawrence Russo, absolutely amazing how out of touch owners are regarding the effects of poor interior design.
Oh yeah,
That is an understatement, I tell you.
Yeah.
And again, it's hard because you walk into some of those houses and it's like, are they livable? They're absolutely livable, but it's not necessarily what people want, and people don't see when you're living in a house, you don't see your stuff. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
You just don't see it. So it's interesting.
They
All
need
right, let's look at this. Housing market predictions
for
for 2025. The housing market in 2025 might have been more favorable, had a more favorable outlook than much of 2024 had, especially if mortgage rates improve. There's still plenty of uncertainty in the air. Rising prices and slowing construction could cause some trouble for buyers in 2025, and the ongoing impacts of tariffs and the new presidential administration as a whole remains a wild card. Home prices, mortgage rates, inventory levels, and more will all shape housing affordability throughout the rest of the year. Curious where these trends may go? So what will happen to the housing market in 2025? After dipping as low as 6.2% in September 2024, the average 30-year mortgage rate rose back above 7 for most of early 2025. Previous predictions of lower rates in 2025 appear to have shifted, with experts now predicting rates will moderate, but not necessarily decrease in a substantial way. Indeed, rates remain only just below that 7% threshold at 6.86% as of late April, indicating that affordability is likely to be a continuing issue in the remainder of 2025. The average 30, yeah, I don't disagree with that. The average 30-year fixed mortgage rate will spend most of the year in the sixes, with a short spike above 7%, but never getting below 6%, Greg McBride of Bankrate. Continued economic growth and worries about inflation and government debt will keep mortgage rates elevated. Housing inventories, though, actually have been improving as of late, with a 4-month supply at the end of March, according to the existing home sales data from the National Association of Realtors. While that is still below the 5 to 6 months typically needed for a balanced market, it's a significant 19.8% improvement from a year ago. The political implications. On top of typical housing concerns, there's also a question about how Trump's administration involving policies could impact housing. Investors are anticipating that if Donald Trump implements a significant portion of the proposed tax cuts and tariffs and the economy stays strong, the Fed will only cut its policy rate twice in 2025, keeping mortgage rates high. Redfin economist Daryl Fairweather, I always say that, and Chen Zhao, I think that's how you say her name, said in their 2025 predictions. As for new construction, they said, the Republican sweep of the White House, Senate, and House has improved builder confidence by bringing renewed optimism, and regulatory burdens may ease. However, the increased cost to building materials due to tariffs may have people worried. Are you seeing any of that? What do you guys even have any new builds really?
Yeah, there's a lot of new construction going on. I know that funny we talked about. I've seen that they're offering a lot of incentives, quite honestly, to people that are buying new homes. A lot of incentives to either buy your rate down or a lot of upgrades. They're throwing quite a lot of that at buyers, and they're also offering huge incentives to realtors to bring them now. So where it's typically maybe 3% commission, whatever, I've seen 4, and even with a bonus. and stuff like that, and a stacked bonus if you bring 2 people, like one another, which
Oh,
they,
wow.
a lot of times they do. But yeah, they're I've seen a lot of emails, tons of emails from, hey, bring people here, open house here. Hey, did you know we're doing this? And it shows all the incentives. So they're filling it.
Yeah.
They definitely need the people to buy them. The only benefit right now to buying a new home, other than the warranty, if you can find one that's in your budget, is that with a new home, you're going to get a much cheaper insurance rate because the house is a new build.
Right.
It's got all the new codes, less liability as far as insurance companies are concerned. So they actually had a lady who showed that she bought a 3-bedroom house, and her insurance was ridiculously low. That's because it had impact windows and a new roof and
Right.
everything that was hurricane ready. So,
Right.
so I mean,
It makes a difference.
if you have the means and you can swing it, and the builder's offering you some great incentives, I mean, sure, if you get time and do it, it might not be a bad move right now where the demand is not as great.
Yeah, I've said this. If you go into a quick delivery home and for one of these builders, I don't know if you guys are having some of that. That is where I'm seeing them even give more deals.
Oh yeah,
because they're like, we want these off our books. These
Yep.
things are built, they're ready to go. Like we're gonna give you even more incentives, more rate buy downs, more whatever it is.
And you can get probably a good deal on those because those were built before some of the tariffs, so the cost of materials wasn't as much. And so we'll see what's going to happen with the cost of materials for some of the other homes that they're still building.
Yeah. So last 4 purchases all had concessions. First was 11,000, second was 10,000, third wasn't concession but got it for 120 off list. Wow, 120,000 off list. Fourth was 17,000 in Gilbert. 120,000 off list. That's huge. Good job.
Yeah.
Nice work.
It must have been like over $1 million house.
I don't think so. Well, Gilbert has some $1 million houses, but great time to buy as far as I'm concerned. If you know what, and I've said this before, I am not that person that is out there saying, everybody should buy right now. If you can do it and you're not stretching and you can afford it, then I think now is a good time to buy. If you feel like you're going to be stretched and you're just unsure, then don't buy right now. Just wait it out. But for some, it is a great time to buy.
I love this comment right here. That is such a great comment.
Yeah. Best practice for me is to get a home inspection 6 months before I want to sell my home and take the time to handle all called out issues. Then when I have a selling inspection, it looks clean. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though, and because I've told sellers this too, because they're like, well, what if I just get an inspection and just handle everything right off the bat? Not a bad idea. But I always tell sellers, I'm like, then you have to know when the buyer comes, the buyer's also going to get an inspection. And guess what that inspector is going to do? Find more stuff.
They are. But if you take care of like the water heater, if it's leaking, if you had any type of leaks, any major things, hopefully it's minor stuff, and you have a report say, yeah, you guys just fishing for like nonsense. Here's my report. Here you go.
Right.
Like, and this was looked at. So let's take a second look at it before we offer you that credit. And I think a house right now with that inspections, my guy was pushing hard on pre-inspections. I said, yeah, it makes some sense. I think when you show that to a buyer, said, hey, the house was we did our pre-inspection and here's everything we fixed. That buyer's like going, wow, they fixed that. Wow, we don't have to worry about that. Oh, that last house, we had to do all this.
Right.
Immediately they're like going, gee, this house has everything done.
Agreed. Yeah. But the thing is if you're going to do a pre-inspection and there's stuff on there, you got to fix it.
Of course. Yeah.
You can't be like, well, he did this and this, but he didn't do that. And he didn't do that. Because then what I find is that sometimes those are the big things that they didn't do. And they're like, well, great. I could have done that for $25 at Home Depot.
Not to mention the liability that once you do an inspection, you find anything, you have to disclose that.
Right.
Yeah. It's like major. It's like, can't hide that. Can't not. Oh, they're going to go find it. Now you got to disclose it. Where quite honestly, and this happens, people have a house and they don't know. They're not up in their attic. They have no idea. And then there's something wrong. And they did not know until the inspection happens. And so, because sometimes you can have a small leak in a roof and it never hits anywhere on the drywall below, and you had no idea. We've seen that before. No signs. And listen, how many people, especially in Florida, up in the roofs when it's 110 degrees and humid? They're not up there. What
we have a lot here is when people replace their air conditioning units because the furnace is in the attic.
Oh, okay.
Is that the new company goes up there and they have to cut trusses to get the new furnace up there. And so now we've got cut trusses up there.
Oh.
And people are like, what's going on? And so thank God I have a great structural engineer that will go take a look at stuff for me and like stamp it and everything. But it's like that kind of stuff. I tell people, I'm like, look, if you are going to have your air conditioning replaced, all of it, furnace and air conditioning unit. You need to talk to them, and you need to ask them if they cut any trusses in the attic. And if they did, you need a structural engineer out there to take a look at it so that it's stamped, so that when you go to sell it, it's not on you and it doesn't become a big issue. And they're like, why would they cut trusses? I'm like, the units are different sizes. I've never seen a house fall down. And usually it's not an issue of where they cut the trusses, because they do know what they're doing. But still, as soon as they see a cut truss, an inspector, they're like, whoop, there's a cut truss up here. We got to,
Yeah, it happened to us on one of my sellers.
Yeah.
And he had to get a report, and they said, yep, it's fine. Yep.
Yeah. How likely is it that the seller accepts a 45 to 60 day for closing? I have a non-traditional mortgage and it used to be an issue last year. No, I mean, unless for some reason the seller has to close within 30 days. If the house isn't selling, they're more likely going to take the 45 to 60 day close
because they know
that it's going to close.
Yep.
Then just let it sit on the market. So I wouldn't let that deter you at all. I mean, and again, if you're working with a really good real estate agent, they can call and explain that. Just say, look, they're not trying to be difficult. This is why the closing has to be so long, so that they understand. I mean, the more transparency and honesty that you can be upfront about stuff like that, I find you run into less issues, less problems down the line. For sure. Yep. All right. Well, Paul, thank you. I know it's late there. It's Friday.
Yeah, it's 6. It's like that, or 6. It's 7 now.
7. I know.
My computer clock keeps resetting. It's really weird. I don't know what's going on with it. So, but yeah, it's 7. That's not late. So, go sit down and chill out.
I know.
TV, enjoy. So I hope you feel better. I know you said you weren't feeling.
Thank you. I know, and I'm not. I know. I'm doing good.
And it was good to see you again. It's been a while. So thanks for having me. I'll, if you don't mind, I'll shoot you and have you come on my show, and you can talk to the Floridians about what's going on.
Anytime. I would love it. Yep.
And appreciate it. And thanks again. It's been a pleasure to be here. And I hope the market keeps playing well for you out there.
Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, nice. You're gonna be cooking eggs on the sidewalk pretty soon, right?
Soon, yeah. Very soon.
I know. It was so hot today. I walk the dogs every day, and I walked the dogs today. It was like, oh man, it rained, and it was like, oh, not already. It's like someone turned on the sauna.
No, see, that's the thing that we don't have, which is I can't do the humidity. I can't do it.
Oh, it sucked.
Yeah, I can't do that humidity. It just kills me.
Yeah,
oh boy,
really
Alex.
Yeah.
Is the heat really that bad in Arizona, Alex? Yes.
It can be brutal.
It is hot.
What's the hottest you've ever had?
Okay, so the hottest that I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
My parents used to have a place in Lake Havasu, and it was 128.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's the hottest I've ever experienced.
Do you just walk outside? It's like combust. I mean,
yeah. Well, it was funny because my parents were like, "Should we take the boat out today?" And I was like, "Yeah," because it's so hot. We literally took the boat out and jumped in the water in Lake Havasu, and it was like bath water. And I mean, that's a big. I mean, not gigantic body of water, but I mean, it was.
Wow.
Yeah, but here, I mean, the thing that gets hard here is it goes on day after day after day, where you're 110 every day for 2 weeks, sometimes straight. And our lows in the middle of the night are like 89, 90.
Ugh.
Like that's as cool as we get. And that's when you're sleeping. So it's not like, oh, that's okay. I can, go outside. And you can still, I always tell people, I'm like, you can still go outside and get exercise and do all that. You just have to go out early in the morning. Is it worth moving out of SoCal to buy a house cash out there? LOL. Would that be bad? No. I mean, it depends on why you're moving. Buying with cash is never a bad idea. I don't think. Then you have a mortgage, but it's really the why. Why are you doing it? Are you just doing it as an investment, or are you doing it to actually move?
Beautiful part of the country.
Right. It's beautiful. It's beautiful here. I love it. I mean, it's hot, but I love it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine living anywhere else. So do you have any more questions, Alex? Give me a call. My number's down there. All right, Paul. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate
it.
We'll talk soon.
All right. Take care.
Everyone, have a good weekend.